Hi, Carson. Thanks so much for being here today. It's wonderful to have you here, actually. Before we get started into talking about Pico and anything else for that matter, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself and how you got into crypto, how you started working at Amun, and your background?
Sure. First off, thanks, Grant, for having me. Always great chatting with you. So I'm happy to be joining the pod. But yeah, so I guess my background, I really got into crypto like 2017. Classic. I was in college with my roommates. My one roommate bought Ethereum. I was actually talking to one of our coworkers, James, today about this, where I remember like my roommates bought Ethereum at like $14 and they sold it at $40 and we were all freaking out. And oh man, 3x. And then I think when it got up to like $200, we were all like, man, maybe we all need to pay attention to it. So that was when I really got into crypto. And then throughout college, just me and my friends talking crypto a lot, but also having a slight technology background, had a few software engineering internships, double majored in information science, technology, and cybersecurity at Penn State. So like I was interested in technology. So I was definitely looking at how this was working and was really interested in the functionality of Ethereum and what it enabled, but also still just kind of like trading. And then throughout that was involved and then DeFi winter hit and, or not DeFi winter, crypto winter hit. Still thinking about DeFi, but, and stopped paying attention, held on to all my stuff from that time, but then graduated and went and worked for Ernst& Young as a technology consultant, tried to get to the crypto group. However, they didn't have a ton going on. So I just ended up working in like data science. And then a year ago, I really started checking my stuff and getting more into it. My best friend went and worked for started working for a crypto company who's actually not my roommate. So then we started like really chatting again. And then throughout this run, have been very locked in on DeFi and everything going on in crypto. After about 2 years, I was just scanning the scene, looking at job openings in the crypto space and came across Amun. Thought it was a great opportunity. Interviewed, was able to come aboard. And since mid-August, I've been working as a product manager on our tokens team. Now product managing our tokens platform, but I've been involved across the entire tokens process. It's been a great experience. So yeah, that's kind of my story.
Okay, so some follow-up questions to what you've done. From going from information technology, cybersecurity to product management, is that a leap? Because as you said, because I know as well, and maybe some of our listeners don't know, like you do a lot of different stuff. And when I'm on meetings and I'm listening, and then our boss James says, "Hey, Carson, did you blah blah blah?" And Carson, did you blah blah blah? And sometimes the two questions are like the opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. So for me, that was basically like, I was like, I'm a big math kid in a family of like finance people. My mom was a math major, but my dad has worked in financial services. My brother was a finance major. My younger sister's a finance major. So like business was always the talk of the house. But then in high school, I started programming, took a few computer science classes and fell in love with programming. And I think when I got into college, I did like the classic thing where I was like, all right, like I want to keep on working with technology, but I don't want to be like stuck behind the keyboard. So I'm going to find a major that kind of balances the two. And that was how I ended up at Penn State, which is the College of IST, Information Science and Technology. And so that was my route of staying involved in like programming, but as well as like on the business side. And then that was what also sparked my interest in product management, because obviously we were really close with our engineers who are super, super talented. I love being able to have those techie conversations with them and hold my own, but then also be involved with the business development aspects of what we're working on or just the random stuff I have to do throughout the day. So it's like a good balance, and that was how I ended.
So we do have a fair number of people like in their early 20s. First, people in their early 20s getting out of college or just finishing college to get into product management. Would you suggest going your route of programming, information science, or is there a better route? Do you wish you had done something differently while you were doing your education to get into product management?
Maybe I would have focused more on like computer science, but I think in general, like just in the crypto industry as a whole, and I think this goes for a lot of technology, technology industries these days, is people are disregarding the standard educational routes as a requirement. And there's a lot of opportunities for young people to get involved in the industry and demonstrate that knowledge. And that's a great route to just like getting interviews and landing a job in crypto. I think really there's so many growing projects going on right now and like new ones sparking up every single day that really people are just like, there's such an opportunity for just good talent that people are really looking for anyone who can just demonstrate an understanding of the industry. So I think getting involved in communities, I know for me, a great one is Gitcoin. If you're familiar with Gitcoin, it's like they post hackathons and bounties for people contributing to open source projects, and you can get rewarded in tokens, but those are great ways to participate in the industry, but then also build a resume, do some networking, and then later when you're applying for jobs, be able to just like demonstrate that what you're talking about. And really, like at the end of the day, that's all that people really care about.
Oh, that's a really great suggestion. I'll put that down in the links when I do the show notes for today's show. Last question. It's more of a programming question. I know you mentioned this on Slack at some point. You'd like to learn Solidity. People getting into programming in crypto right now. Is Solidity the way to go, or Rust for Solana? Which one would you suggest just off the top of your head?
I think it depends on what programming background you have. If you're a really strong developer and you're pretty confident you can learn any language, Rust might be really good right now just because Solana is really growing and there's a major talent gap with Rust as a language. But that's also because it's really tough to learn. And Solana just doesn't really have the developer community behind it that Ethereum has. So if you're like a beginner programmer, I think Solidity is definitely the route to go, just because there's so much documentation. There's years of people writing Medium posts explaining how to do this and that. It makes it like really accessible for new people trying to get into the space. I know Austin Griffith is a guy. If you check his stuff out, it's called Scaffold-ETH. He basically has this like kind of starter project of like what you would need to run an Ethereum project on your local machine. And it's a great place to start if you're trying to do some Solidity development. And he has some walkthroughs and just like stuff like that just doesn't really exist in Solana right now. It's really reserved for the people that really know Rust, really know how Solana works, because it's not a direct transfer of knowledge. It's not like a Solidity developer can learn Rust and begin building on Solana. Like it's a little different. So I think it just depends on your comfort as a programmer. If you're really strong, maybe go the Rust route. But if you're a beginner programmer, definitely do Solidity. There's so many resources and there's still so many opportunities for developers.